In a challenging time in his nation's history, the author of Lamentations affirms that he has hope and that his hope is in God. The steadfast love of God never ceases. God's mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is God's faithfulness. God is my portion, says my soul, therefore I will hope in God. Process theology affirms that the flourishing of persons and institutions challenges them to initiate novelty in response to changes in their environment. When old ways don't work, we must be willing to make significant changes in personal behavior and political policy. It is an underestimation to say that we live in a novel time. Our expectations have been turned upside down, our familiar rituals thwarted, our national pride eviscerated. According to process theologians, God is the primary agent of change, not the change that destroys and harms, but the change that heals and transforms and takes us beyond a toxic past. Holding on to a past that no longer works goes against the nature of the universe and God's moral and spiritual arc of history. The dissonance between God's vision and our own can be painful. God is, after all, the ultimate source of prophetic zeal, challenging every nation and leader to embody more fully God's dream of shalom. The pandemic has revealed the weaknesses of our nation's economic, medical, and environmental priorities. Our pretense to national greatness has collapsed as we are the leader in sickness and death and not compassion and curing. Our national leadership is more concerned with holding on to power than helping people. The pandemic has exacerbated the serious and deadly inequalities related to economics, race, and education. The patient, that is our nation, is in serious condition and our democracy in peril. And we need to explore novel and imaginative remedies grounded in our current situation and looking toward the new horizons of health and healing, personally and nationally. Change is not only necessary, change is inevitable. And we must initiate transformative practices to respond to a world upside down. Rather than waiting, we must anticipate what we need to do and initiate new approaches to politics, economics, and foreign relationships. From a process perspective, we need more rather than less cooperation and globalism. We need more rather than less cooperation and globalism. Nation first and individual state initiatives without a national vision have weakened our response to and recovery from the pandemic. Process theology promotes a politics of interdependence and empathy. We are all in the same boat. We are all in the same storm. The politics of interdependence challenges any type of isolated individualism as dangerous to community, nation, and planet. We need to trade individual and national self-interest and isolationism for world loyalty. Process theology affirms a politics of empathy based on recognizing the feelings of others and our bond with people everywhere and in other nations. The fellow sufferer who understands alerts us to the pain of others. Government has the vocation of reducing pain and accentuating joy. Government has the vocation of reducing pain and accentuating joy. This means public policy must be guided by compassion and justice seeking, whether on city streets, borderlines, hospital, courtrooms, and in the halls of Congress. Justice and equality are the children of empathy, hospitality, and compassion. Process theology challenges us to think boldly and innovatively in terms of public policy. In this time of pandemic, climate change, and protest, there is no room for obstructive partnership and inflexible theology. We need to stabilize the nation, move toward recovery from COVID and divisiveness, and then imagine alternative approaches, broad-spirited and yet grassroots, in wealth distribution, responding to poverty, environmental restoration and healing, and racial justice. Though God's aim is always related to our current circumstances, God's vision always draws us beyond what is toward what could be, and toward more than we could currently imagine. And so, without giving exact blueprints for public policy, process theology asserts that when we think of public policy today, we need bold, relational, and empathetic visions to make America moral again and revive the quest for a more perfect union.